There is a trending challenge going on social media depicting the dirty nature of our cities by Cameroonians. We're going to be looking at the image this trend and challenge is giving our nation across the world. We're also going to be looking at the possibility of a plan B for political candidates vying for the 2025 presidential elections. Voters themselves, do you have a plan B if your candidate ends up not being qualified to run for these elections? You as an independent candidate, what is the plan B you have for yourself and your supporters should your application to run as president for this country get rejected by October 2025? We are going to be discussing on this with our panelists who are with me in the studio. Good evening, televiewers. You're welcome. With us this evening is Prince Joel Mukage, who is a journalist. He's going to be sharing in tonight's edition of the program. Good evening.
Good evening to you, Mr. Liu, and of course, special good evening to all the co-panelists. I'm spending greetings to the peace-loving people of Mr. J subdivision, many who are watching the program this evening, and most particularly to His Excellency Professor Fu Kalisus Gentry, Interim Minister of Mines, Industries and Technological Development, who spent a week in the city of Duala visiting companies and encouraging them to engage more into home products instead of importing a lot. Mr. Liu, it's wonderful topics you have tonight, because some of us who go around the cities, it's no news that garbage is all over, within and without. And of course, the 2025 is a very, very decisive year for the nation Cameroon, because it's a political year. And of course, we are looking at the fact that in less than no time, we shall be getting into the presidential elections 2025, precisely in October. It's a privilege to be on set, Mr. Liu.
We also are in the company of Nji Lucas, who is a member of Cameroon Civil Society. Good evening, Mr. Nji. Good evening. We are glad to have you.
Good evening, Mr. Liu. It's a pleasure being here tonight.
It's Boya. You just came in this night.
Yeah, it was a very difficult ride, but I'm glad that I'm here finally by the grace of God.
Innocent Anombose is also part of tonight's edition of the program. He is a militant of the PAP party. We're glad to have you.
Good evening to you, Mr. Liu. Good evening to you, my dear co-panelists. Good evening to you, Cameroonians. On behalf of the Union for Reconstruction, we wish to extend our heartfelt condolence to the families of the fallen soldiers who fell in the hands of the terrorist group Boko Haram. We as a nation has been experiencing such situation due to the failure of our leadership. So it is quite a sad situation, and we promise to fix our nation together. Thank you, sir.
You say you members of what? Union for
Reconstruction.
Union for Reconstruction. Is it a new platform?
It's a coalition made up of political parties civil society organization, and well-known personalities who came together last September 2024 and formed a coalition aimed at restructuring the nation, rebuilding Cameroon from where it is, and bringing light to the nation. So the Union for Reconstruction has been existing from September to date, headed by the Bâtonnier Akeremona. So he is the presidential candidate responding to the call of Cameroonians who are calling for a coalition of the opposition. So the Union for Coalition has presented himself as hope to restore the depreciating Cameroon.
Okay. Tamai Jarvis is also in the house. He's sitting in for Dr. Apostle Ambe Valentine Gua, who is caught in traffic. He may not make it, as he just told me. I pray he makes it. We're glad to be.
Good evening, Mr. Kum. Good evening to those political stakeholders who are trying their best to ensure that we get the best for our nation. And a special good evening to the members of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement who celebrated their 40th anniversary yesterday. And that special good evening to the peace-loving people of Way Village, to be more precise, and those in Moya and those across Cameroon. We are at the crossroad at the moment where our nation, we need those who can be objective without any iota of emotion, but with the respect of the state institution and above all Republican values, so that we can together shape and respectfully disagree to agree within the context of Thy Worth No Tongue Can Tell, which is the beautiful rendition of our anthem, Land of Promise, Land of Glory, and Deep Endearment forevermore.
Okay, we are starting with this report from Kumba, Chieftain of Meme Division, with Sidwan Tamfu.
Viewers of My Media Prime Television, this is the other side of the Fiango market here in Kumba, Meme Division of the Southwest region. It is quite unfortunate that debts are piled up. This is just an example of so many strategic places here in the city of Kumba. And so many people have been questioning what is actually going to happen, especially with fears that there might be an outbreak of cholera in this part of the country. It is quite disturbing. Most of the streets are facing this, and most often the workers of the waste management body, Izakam, come maybe after a week or two to evacuate this debt. And in several meetings, the management of Izakam here in Kumba have stated that it is due to the fact that there are less machines, there are less equipment to manage this, even with the dedicated workers they have here in Kumba. So many people have expressed concerns about health.
Fever, catarrh, cough, headache. So I go sleep for hospital only for sick fire where they light up out of the tea. Smoke. I come up for here the whole day, they drink the spoon, they drink the spoon, they drink the spoon. Go house, go sleep, I know if you sleep. So the next day, I go sleep for hospital.
They put fire. If they enter me, I go as fever, they hold me, I go sleep me for hospital. For sick did they for here.
Potato workshop, so other fly they come up for they can land on top, you give you disease. We go house now, start feel bad for our belly. You need to feel free. They always show the tie nose. Any pick you come for, you bring her for market, you want to go back, it don't affect it. You should start the posh, other kinds of them.
There is a serious outcry here in this city, as many people are asking the municipal councils as well as the city council to also do something to assist the workers of Izakam. If not, then there are fears that Kumba may be facing a disaster due to this death.
The government gave for the movie we did the team, they overlive the city, they stay. It did be like 3 months, 4 months, they didn't even know would they even exist for corner. People they didn't even show up for corner say.
So with the big government say, what did they do? Or what did they happen? No, we nothing know what really happen. Because even the players sit down at the pay government. No, they know they need to give 100. No, they know they need to pay land fee. So I don't see no reason why I go pay, then I still suffer, carry sick. So at the big government say, may they change their mind for which way they descend towards our life.
May government, we forgive moto, may they can carry the data so that we go feel free for year. Because not only for year, woman they don't they manage fine school fees for work pay school for picking them. So Papa would they beg someone that tell government, may we give moto who can carry the data.
If you go to most of the areas here in the green city of Kumba, you are certainly going to see this. Data pile up even in front of offices, in front of people's homes, in front of even schools, because it is difficult for the dedicated workers of the waste management body Zakab to come and maybe clear off the debt. It has also led to increase in mosquitoes. Also for you to understand, ladies and gentlemen, that this is because of the influx of so many people here in the city of Kumba due to the armed conflict in the northwest and the southwest region. The population has increased, and automatically it has also increased the amount of debt in this part of the country. Tamfu Sidwan Dimbie, My Media Prime Television, Kumba, southwest region of Cameroon.
For that report succinct on the situation of waste management out there in the Green City, Chieftain of Meme Division. We'll start with you. You live in Duala. Do you think that Duala is different from the picture painted by Sidwan Tamfu?
The situation in Duala is worst. In fact, yeah, it's worst because Duala is the economic hub where it is very populated. And far from that, Duala has lots of companies. And of course, most of these companies produce waste, and the waste that the companies produce are dumped. When you go to areas like Bonaberry, even at around Chateau, once you get to Chateau, what welcomes you is garbage, a heap. If you go around the Rai market itself, there is garbage inside the market, like the picture that Sidwan has painted in Kumba. It is the same situation even in Dokoti. It's the same situation even in Marché Central. So I think that, Mr. Liu, the management of waste in Cameroon, I don't know whether Izakam, it's true that at one time Izakam complained that they were not paying them, whether they've resumed, because you don't see them. It's very true that some individuals have taken upon themselves. I know individuals and personal companies that use tricycles and move from home to collect garbage on the condition that parents pay, or households pay. There are people who pay weekly, there are others who pay monthly. So I think that the situation is rather worst in Duala. I think that the situation is worst in other parts of the country, and it has a very adverse effect on the health of Cameroonians, because when you have such garbage and pollution all over, Mr. Leo, it comes with a lot of health hazards. Of course, we heard even from the women in Kumba, many persons fall ill. It's not different from here in Duala. I have people who have moved into Cameroon, and maybe they're in Bonaberry and other parts in Duala. You find most of them with nose masks round the clock. The reason is because they tell you the town is stinky. There are colleagues who are even in Yaounde. At times I was discussing one, you tell him, Bo, when will you visit? He says, Massa, I would have loved to come to their town, but my problem is Duala. So I think that, Mr. Liu, the situation is rather worst in Duala. If you go even in front of the councils, like Sidwan said, in front of the councils, if you go a few meters away from the Duala 4 council, it's the same situation. You see garbage. And I think that you once discussed this topic where we saw Dolly Ngonda, who did, and Fon Quinta, who did a picture of Bonamusadi and Bonaberry.
Dolly Ngonda is once again going to present us with something today. Yes. What would explain this consistency in our incapacity to manage garbage across cities in Cameroon for years now, because this is not an issue of 2025?
The issue of garbage is polluting our city is just one of the so many problems Cameroon is facing, results of the incompetency of our government in place. Now, I want to ask myself and other Cameroonians that which of the services do we really gladly enjoy as Cameroonians? Is it pipe-borne water? Is it constant flow of electricity? Is it good roads? You can name them, Mr. Liu. So these are signs of a collapsing system. It is written all over that a system is tired. A system in place has exhausted all it has to offer the people. A system in place that needs to be replaced. So we will keep citing where all those heaps of garbages are. It doesn't concern them because it does not affect them up there. Look at the buy and sell women. They are the low class of the society. They are the one being affected. If this thing was affecting those people up there, I think they would have looked for a solution. So definitely it is the common man who is being affected. It does not touch them. That's why it's a kind of laissez-faire thing. And at times I used to wonder if these people are conscious that they are being elected into the offices by these common people. If they were conscious of the fact that they are being elected by this common man and they can refuse to re-elect them, they will do their job. But this give sense to the opinion of people who say Cameroon has been rigging elections. And when you look at the way our government, some of them responds to situations, they respond with a lot of arrogance, a lot of pride and arrogance. Last time we were complaining about bad roads and this heap of garbages in Yaounde. A top-ranking official came up and debunked the situation and said, which Yaounde are you talking of? Is this the same Yaounde he's living in, of which we are dying, our roads are degrading, our city are polluted with garbages, and the common man is the one feeling the pinch. Our roads are poorly constructed. Tomorrow they will need to be renovated. The poor and the low class people are the one paying the price. So Cameroonians are watching, and I am glad with the rate of mobilization. Cameroonians are mobilizing themselves like never before to get registered into the electoral list.
Okay. Let us take a listen to this report by Marie Rosine, who works for My Media Prime TV in Yaoundé.
Bonsoir le monde. Ici, nous sommes à Yaoundé 5, dans le marché Essence. À quelques jours des présidentielles au Cameroun, voilà le calvaire que vivent les populations de Yaoundé, la capitale politique du Cameroun. L'état d'inondisse jonche le long des rues. Les ordures ont bouché les carnivores. Il n'y a plus moyen que l'eau circule. Nous sommes en plein marché Essence, l'un des marchés les plus populaires de la capitale politique du Cameroun. Regardez le calvaire. Regardez le calvaire. C'est pas la piscine, mais je suis dans l'eau. C'est ça le Cameroun, au marché Essence. Regardez le calvaire des commerçants. Le calvaire des commerçants qui payent leurs tickets tous les jours. C'est lorsque Isakam a suivi qu'on était sur les lieux que le camion est venu pour porter les ordures. Regardez ce que les ordures ont causé en plein marché, les carnivores bouchés. Ça, c'est la piscine nationale. Les tickets sont payés. L'état d'inondiste partout. Les mouches, on dirait la capitale est dans la pourriture. Je suis placée, certainement, c'est dans les excréments des gens parce que l'eau est entrée dans les habitations étant donné que les carnivores sont bouchés à cause de ces ordures. Monsieur le Président Paul Biya, voilà ce à quoi ressemble la capitale politique du Cameroun. Les commerçants sont aux abois, les populations sont aux abois également. Tous les comptoirs sont inondés. Et juste ici, tout près, on vend de la nourriture. Les gens n'ont pas d'argent pour aller dans des grands restaurants. Ils sont obligés de manger dans des tourneaux d'eau qui sont envahis par des mouches, par des ordures. À quelques pas du centre-ville, voilà ce à quoi ressemble la capitale politique du Cameroun. Et les élections, c'est dans quelques mois. Les gens n'ont pas d'engouement d'aller s'inscrire sur les listes électorales parce qu'ils ne croient plus au Cameroun, parce qu'ils ne croient plus aux dirigeants, parce qu'ils ne croient plus en rien. C'est sauve qui peut. Pendant que les gens dorment dans des gratte-ciel, pendant que les gens roulent dans des prados, voilà ce que la population est en train de subir. Nous sommes ici avec le chef secteur du marché qui va nous dire un peu quel calvaire ils sont en train de subir. Le président de la République regarde ce qui est en train de se passer, les autorités regardent. Moi-même, je suis dans l'eau. Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Et déjà courage pour ce que vous êtes en train de subir. Est-ce que vous pouvez nous présenter la situation actuelle de ce marché avec l'état d'inondis et les eaux là?
Oui, ici là, nous sommes nous sommes dessus parce que à l'heure là, on ne comprend plus. Souvent, nous sommes là, on dit tout le marché donnait 1000 francs pour déboucher les rigoles. On n'a jamais débouché. Subitement, vous êtes encore là, on dit bon, maintenant là, la communauté a dit qu'il faut des toilettes publiques. Ici là, quand ils viennent faire les toilettes publiques, ils s'en foutent du reste. On vous chasse comme ça, là, on vous met dans la rue. Mais pour finir, vous êtes encore même au milieu de la route. Les toilettes publiques, ils bouchent d'abord toutes les sorties d'eau qui sortent du marché. Donc l'eau est obligée, quand il pleut, de sortir et venir nous envahir. On n'a pas de choix. Et demain matin, on sera obligé de tout ramasser. On va même ramasser, on va jeter où? Là, les sacs ne viennent pas. On va faire comment? On est obligé de ramasser, verser toujours là par terre pour que quand il va pleuvoir demain, ça vienne toujours nous retrouver. Donc c'est un peu ça, on souffre. Et on parle même, c'est encore plus grave. Moi-même, je suis déjà en danger.
Alors, c'est dans cette peur que vivent les Camerounais. Personne ne veut parler parce qu'ils ont peur. Pourtant, ils donnent de leur argent. Ils ont peur de parler, de peur qu'on va les tuer. Personne ne veut se prononcer. Les gens meurent étouffés. Les gens meurent étouffés. Yaounde va mal.
That was Marie-Rosine out there in Yaounde, the nation's political capital, also painting a picture of another side of the city where things are not looking very good. Nji Lucas, you just listened to her and what the population is going through to say that this is also the work of municipal councillors who are supposed to take care of these things.
Yes, a lot has been said, especially by the reporters and what we have watched on different social media platforms. I want to take it tonight by looking at the different stakeholders as concerning the management of garbage in every country. I listened to the Minister of Mines, I think it should be technological. Great. Great. Then I asked the question, what is the essence of us gathering garbage and we dump them somewhere, whereas we could make proper use of them? The garbage we see on our streets, if we practice waste segregation, therefore removing what is supposed to be plastic waste, food waste, chemical waste, we will go a long way in solving the problem. The garbage we see today, I want to be a bit different. It is obvious, we all accept that right now it's all about bad governance. We accept that it's bad governance. Now, in this bad governance, we have to look at who has what parts to play. I want to begin by, firstly, the common man, often referred to as the man down there. If you look at most of our cities, places where we ought to have allowed water, like I saw the case in Yaounde, we have built on places where water ought to go through, and they are all blocked. We have decided that our waste that we are supposed to manage alongside the state. Cameroon is not yet in that European standard or the Canadian standard or the United States standard, whereby you will tell me that if you should set your waste ablaze, it will become a problem. Besides, I think we equally have incinerators that we in our homes we need to start practicing. I see people carry plastics that you could burn at once because it starts having that terrible odor like she painted there when the plastics and the food waste, the chemical waste, the waste that would want to decompose, it gets to a particular point where the plastic is now beneath, thus making it very difficult for it to decompose and penetrate. So the end result will be what we see. The end result will be what we hear. Now you realize that some of us will gather plastic waste, papers that we could burn instantly we carry them and dump them somewhere that we are waiting for Hisakam. Yes, the towns and the cities, no matter what, there are certain places where such could be done. We could carry out such. It is obvious that if you sweep your house, probably you have had you bought Maggi cubes, maybe you bought some other things that had to do with plastic bags, and instantly when you're done from your kitchen, you burn them, you will solve that problem. We already accept that right now the central government is not readily available to solve this problem. I'll go back to some years ago or so. I listened to the Prime Minister. He made an urgent call where he called every stakeholder in Yaounde because the situation was out of hand.
No, it was some weeks back.
Yes. This is the second time he is calling. He had called before last year. I think last year, October or September or thereabout. And it was all about how do we manage the situation. So you realize, like your question goes, the regional councils or the municipal councils now have a lot that they can do. There is a lot that has been devolved to them. And if they do not want to take it and make it what it has to be, it will be very difficult. Because, for example, if I take the case of Boya, where I'm coming from, I observed that the Boya Council has some stands in certain places where the people go there, they empty that. I am not speaking for them, but I'm talking about what I've observed, which I applauded it. That is, at a particular point when Hisakam fails to come, because he who is actually paid, and when the person is not paid, the staff will not be paid, thus the company cannot work. So if you look at things like this, the company has decided that the garbage should stay there because they are not paid. So what do you expect? Now, the people cannot sit and wait for a government that has already failed to manage this. So what do you need to do right now? The government has failed. You cannot kill yourself. So the first thing you need to do is that you have to be actively involved in the management of your garbage. That is, ensure that your food waste. There are people who still do farming. Cameroon is not yet New York. If you go around Duala, there are places where you find people who could actually make them some area where they produce, manure for themselves at this moment. But what is happening is that we have ministries like that of Fru Callisto's Gentry, where they blow a lot of grammar, but they don't solve the problem. In the sense that, why can't we take this waste? We are talking about the Minister of Mines. You know what comes out of garbage. It is not the same case like you will see in Europe. And every day we go to Europe, we see these things. You go to the Ministry of Scientific Research, they'll tell you that they had a research on this. You could use this to actually produce cooking gas or so. But it is not happening. You will hear that there are plastics that you could take them and recycle or do this. It is not happening. So where policymakers have failed, then it is obvious that the people too, they will get themselves trapped in this. But my focus tonight is, what do we do in a situation like this? Because no matter how we take pictures, no matter how we put them on the social media, it is obvious that these people, some of the ministers had said, you talk about these things that they are existing. I'm not seeing them. No matter what happens, we are talking about Yaounde, the capital city of Cameroon. And to imagine that the political capital of a country has such degree of garbage, such inundation, like we observed from the reporter in Yaounde, it is obvious that at this moment, the people themselves need to sit up. Those who have built on waterways where that area could no longer go through, those who eat food and there is leftover, how do you manage it? Think about it. Those who are involved in chemical waste, think about it. Those who go to the market and buy with plastic bags, and when they are served, when you bring them home, think about it, because no matter what we do, it is obvious that right now there are people who have decided that it's all about them. They live in their wonderful houses. They have their ACs in their homes. Perhaps some of them even have air purifier. You purify their air that they breathe in their homes. So they care less about you and I. So there is only one thing you need to do, is take part in the management of your garbage and try your best not to get involved into you being the cause of your own death. Yes, we will decry. Again, to hand your mic, it is as simple as this. May is the deadline for you to register. October 9 is the day you have to decide who could perhaps bring in the companies, who could perhaps start the recycling of your waste. That is, whether it is your food waste, whether it is your chemical waste, or whether it is your plastic waste. whosoever you deem fit during that particular period, please endeavor not to lose track. It is now obvious that we are managing this country by ourselves.
Okay, we are managing this country by ourselves. I don't know what you mean by that. There's a government that is responsible for the management of Cameroon, and I'm sure they got the mandate from the people until they are elected out of office. Let's take another listen and watch of Dolly Ngonde. Paint a picture of how some aspects or some parts of Bonamusadi look like. Okay, I hear Dolly Ngonde is not yet ready for us, but Jarvis, where do we put the blame?
I think that is a shared responsibility between three categories of persons. One, we, the people. Two, the central government. And three, the local government. Because if you look at, let me begin from we the people, like Mr. Lucas said, I think that we also have a responsibility to play here. Because sometimes even when you see how some of these containers are put by Hizakam for people to come and put in their waste, sometimes they just come and throw it on the floor. I've seen situations like somebody who, instead of putting it on that big container that has been kept there for waste to be put in, they'll just come and throw it on the floor. That's the first case. The second case, waste segregation. Sometimes there are some things that we can segregate and we can naturally burn them. We can naturally decompose them. But you just see people just group them and just let's go. Somebody will chop up the wood in his yard or the flower, all those kind of things, chopped it up, look for somewhere to arrange it for it to actually get a decomposition. The person just carried it, and now you also have a kind of system where the companies themselves are not doing us any favor, because there's what we call corporate social responsibility. The corporate social responsibilities of some of these companies that deal with non-biodegradable, they need to step up and see how they collect some of these product. Let's say, as example, the plastic containers that we drink water in. If these are actually segregated or collected, it will go a long way to reduce this issue. And also, this problem of waste is coming to give us a fundamental question: what is the responsibility of our professional universities in Cameroon? Because I hear Mr. Anji citing the aspect of the Ministry of Mines, but to me, I think that it is an opportunity for universities that pride themselves as entrepreneurial professional universities to see how they can make good use of it, because the Chinese proverb says that in every crisis there's an opportunity. And if you look at our institutions in Cameroon and those who do projects on waste management, we have engineering departments across our universities in Cameroon. Whether it is a state university, is it a lay private university, or is it a private university, you have the engineering department, you have chemical engineering department, you have civil environmental department.
What do you want them to do with the tons of
this is what I want them to do. What projects are they coming up to see that they can actually use this to actually generate revenue per university, or produce something that we can say that, okay, this is a proposal that we are proposing, because it's an opportunity. For example, I look at projects that people defend every day on waste management. And you ask yourself, if they're defending this on waste management, why can they not diversify it, make it commercial, and get money? The second aspect is that come now with the municipalities. The municipalities need to actually differentiate what they do and what they don't do, because sometimes the local person thinks that it's the central government that controls his account, and sometimes they will say no, it's a local council, and all this conflict of interest, it puts us one central question. We have, for example, let's take the city of Duala, Yaounde, Boya, and the rest. Let's take the Duala. We have the Ministry of Decentralization. We have the Ministry of Urban Development. Urban development is fall within the urban, or within the area of urban development. We have the city mayor, who also has a responsibility to make sure that the city is clean. We have the municipal mayor of the different municipalities, who also have the responsibility to see that it's clean. To add to that, some of these wastes are put on the public road. We have now Ministry of Public Works. Some of these wastes are actually on public roads, Ministry of Public Works. So you ask yourself that if you look at the case of the Northwest and Southwest that has the regional assembly now, and also you have the public conciliator, you ask yourself who is doing what, how, and where? Because if you look at all these ministries and these delegations and these local mayors, the local mayors have money as per their hygiene and sanitation. You move to the city council. The city council has money in terms of how the city is planned and in terms of hygiene and sanitation. You move to the regional You move to the urban development and town planning. They also have money. Now, if you build by gigantic structures and there is a waste issue, disposal issues in the urban, in your city, it means you have failed. So we ask ourselves this question: who is doing what, where, and how? And I think that if we can actually, if the state can actually give a clear-cut responsibility to point it that it is this and this that is responsible. With the case in North and South, it's even more complex because you now have reconstruction, commission of reconstruction, which now adds to it, because if you are reconstructing the road, is also the waste disposal is there.
You want the reconstruction committee to come to people's houses?
No, I'm not saying I'm looking at the road. I'm not looking at people's houses. I'm looking at where the debts are.
No, even when there are roads, if you cannot collect the waste, the waste will stay on the road.
Now, if they will definitely pass to reconstruct, they have a right to call whoever is in question that this is what is happening in your city. We are trying to build this city. We are trying to create a favorable environment.
You are assigning a responsibility to them, which I'm not sure is contained in.
I think as their job description, likewise, there is a lot. There is a lot
it's
that is not within their competence. Please, I think if we look at,
I'm not saying it is within their competence. No.
Start collecting.
No, Mr. Lucas, you probably are getting me out of context. What I'm saying is that you can index. For example, you work in Bamenda, as let's say Northwest and Southwest are construction. You work there, and if you are building school, for example, you are building hospital, like the Kumba report said, we're in the market. If you have to reconstruct, people are there in the market. They are burning waste. It is emptying. The smoke is emptying and disturbing. So you are not saying that they should go and remove the waste. What we are saying is simply that you can actually call these people together to order that, sir, or please, this is what is happening. I mean, anyway, let's not waste time on this reconstruction side. But what I'm simply saying is that we have these people, these four arms, the mayors, mayor 1, mayor 2, mayor 3, mayor 4. All these municipalities, what do they do in terms of the budget for hygiene and sanitation? You have the city mayor. The city mayor have a budget. What do they do? You have the regional assembly or the regional council. All these persons, they have a budget. What do they do?
Okay, let's take a listen and watch this one by Dolly Ngonde, painting the picture. Seemingly is still not okay. Yes, but how do we overcome this? Because it is trending. What image does it paint of Cameroon? Not only to Cameroonians, but since it is trending on social media, definitely it's sending a picture to the world of what Cameroonians are living.
It's not a good picture. It's not a good image for Cameroon. Of course, when you get to Mvan, Yaounde, the images that you see even beside where you alight from the car doesn't speak favorable for a nation, Cameroon. When you move in Cameroon's political capital, that is Yaounde, there's been this trending video online, and some newspapers have carried it, where like Echo Outlook, where they talk about the fact that death in the city of Yaounde is so much that even the administrators or those who are concerned are helpless in it. I think that Mr. Liu doesn't sell the image of Cameroon very well. Now, there is the fact that we have a lot of people who are involved in what they are supposed to clean. I think that, I don't know whether it's about confusion on who to actually take care of it.
There is a company that was assigned to take care of this. I don't know. There should not be any confusion.
Now, yeah, Mr. Liu, when you look at it, I'm looking at it at the level of the ministries. There is a Ministry of Urban Development under Madame Celestine K. Chakotes. Means it's the city. It means that Cameroon should be clean. We also have ministries that are involved to protect and make the nation very clean. Health. If there is garbage all over, it affects the health of the people.
Ministry of Public of Health?
Yeah. No, it's still part of health. I'm not saying the Minister of Health is directly involved.
Okay.
Yeah. But now when there is garbage all over, people get ill. It affects to his ministry. And so I feel that, Mr. Liu, the image, I don't know. I said something one time when I was here. I remember when I was younger, we had people who used to call sanitary officers who were working with councils. I don't know how much they were paid or what qualification they had to be recruited. But I remember that they visited homes and they went to toilets even. You had to open your toilets and they see the sanitary nature of the toilet. If your toilet wasn't that good, you were given a summons to come to the council.
Yeah, but in this situation, what would you expect the sanitary guys to do? To come and arrest the guys living around the
I'm not
the
saying
waste?
so, Mr. Liu. What I'm saying is, I'm saying that the council or councils are not to an extent doing their job. Because when you have garbage, like the picture he painted in the Fiango market, which is the heart of the market in Kumba, and there are mayors in Kumba, and there's even a city mayor. Now you ask yourself what the council workers are doing.
Okay. Let us take a listen to Dolly Ngonde paint a part of how Bonamusadi looks like.
Hello televiewers, we are in the streets of Duala to talk about reckless waste disposal and also poor waste management. It is becoming appalling, and also you might have already noticed how public figures are taking a trend to call on a campaign in a bid to keep most Cameroonian cities clean. From Yaounde, and this is Duala and other parts of Cameroon, the story is not strange. Right behind me is a stretch of road linking the 12e terminus stretch of road, but here is an avenue which has been left for waste disposal. It is in the neighborhood you see right there. Household members who are dumping their refuse, recklessly, and it takes only the grace of God for these people to be remembered in terms of these waste products to be disposed by the Hygiene and Sanitation Company, commonly called ISACAM. With the early rains, you can see here standing water already taking its shape and also its place, with cattle egrets also coming to feast, as it is of course a melange of all kinds of germs and also rotten material. Over there you can see flies which are of course feasting too, which tells you the nature of unhygienic condition this place has been thrown into. This is what the people in this area are facing on a regular. Away from that, the pungent smell alone is capable to kill lots and lots of living organisms, and it takes only the grace of God for us to be here. From here we take you to other spots in Duala where we'll be showcasing how waste has been recklessly disposed and also the poor management. And now we are in the heart of Bonamusadi, ladies and gentlemen. A similar scenario is observed of reckless waste disposal. Same birds, cattle egrets feeding from the waste that is here. But this is quite shocking because, like I said, it's the heart of the city where you have businesses and other companies located. But at the center of it, we have litters, waste plastic bottles, as well as other peelings and other non-degradable materials, including baskets that have been woven with raffia palms. And also the number of plastic bottles here is a cause for concern, because these issues or these waste materials are not only posing health risks to the people, but they are a danger to the climate change that we have been fighting about, and also the environment, causing several blockages. And it's so normal here for people to dispose of their waste at the heart of the city. What is happening? Who is to take care of the waste that is being disposed here? Is there no control? Those are questions we all have been asking. And of course, in other places, it is true the campaign launched by public figures is taking heed. If you look closely, you will see all sorts of waste, including broken bottles, glasses, and also cans and tins of containers that are here, plastic materials, wrappings, and all whatnot, coconut peelings, breakable bottles, which are here. Will these ones ever be degradable?
Le carrefour, s'il y a trop de saleté, c'est pour cela qu'on n'a pas besoin. Je voulais qu'on racle tout ça, on met le sable sur ça, parce que ça donne des saletés, ça ne donne pas l'appétit à tous les clients. Donc c'est pour cela que je vous interpelle.
Donc vous êtes en train de faire quoi maintenant?
Je fais le soya, je vends ça à 100 francs, je collecte 100 francs parce que je viens du village. Je vais chercher l'argent.
Ça veut dire que c'est un peu difficile pour attraper les clients parce que l'odeur qui sort derrière de vous, c'est... Dis-nous.
Oui, c'est l'odeur là, ça sent trop, donc les clients ne se mettent pas à l'aise. C'est pour cela que ça chasse mes clients aussi. Je suis citoyen camerounais.
Non, de ce côté-là, non, à Santa Luxa, Bonamoussa, c'est un peu bizarre quand même. On voit les poubelles partout là. Il fallait quand même On arrange ça. Non, il faut que le mairie de Duala 5e voit ça quand même. C'est notre quartier. Donc il faut qu'on voit ça. Ce n'est pas bien. Et c'est un quartier de bobo quand même. Hein? Oh, l'immeuble là, vous voyez ça? C'est comme Bonangang. Hein? Alors.
Merci beaucoup et courage. Thank you very much. Here we are again.
On our continent, we know ourselves. Everyone has something they like doing with their connection. There are those who prefer downloading heavy files. Then, those who are really influencers on social media. There are those gaming champions who make the best world records from their homes. And those who will always show off their food. Not forgetting those who spend hours listening to latest Mboa hits. For all that, they choose Orange's Super 4G network. That is why we've been here for 25 years. Me and all the teams working all over the country. Nana is here. Orange is here.
Prop. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Duala. We would have loved to go round the entire city, but this only depicts the nature of the people in the economic capital city of Cameroon. Despite that, the council and other authorities are doing their best in ensuring that the town is clean. Like we told you, elsewhere, or we went to other places and we realized that refuse has already been disposed of, but we think that a lot still needs to be done. Well, that's how we saw it on the streets of Duala, believing that this story brings change that is most needed to the people.
Very much Daoli Ngonde, and to you, Tamfu Sidwan, for painting the picture of what people are going through in the city of Kumba, chieftain of Meme division, as well as to you, Marie Rosine, for telling the story of the people of Yaounde, the nation's political capital. We are moving straight to our second topic for tonight, which has to do with a question asking whether political parties, independent candidates, as well as voters have a plan B should their respective candidates not qualify to run for October presidential elections. What would you do as someone who is supporting a candidate, or a candidate who has been promising people that I am going for elections? Do you have a plan B should you not qualify to run? Do you have the impression that this is something that is running through the minds of our political actors?
Thank you very much, Mr. Leo. Article 120 of the penal, of the Electoral Code, Article 120 of the Electoral Code clearly stipulates the criteria for the eligibility of a candidate to stand for the presidential election. So it states that one, you must be 35 years of age. Secondly, you must be presented by a political party or an independent candidate who have 300 signatures, 30 from each region, from elected representative or civil society.
Members of House of Chambers, comments.
Thank you. Thank you. So for our coalition, that is not a challenge for now. But being a member of the coalition, I am also a citizen who will be casting my vote to my favorite candidate. Now, we are in a critical year, a year of making history for our nation. And in times like this, we see political bandits who come to distract Cameroonians. Now, we have two main opposition in Cameroon. We have those who are for power and those who are for change. And how do you identify an opposition leader who is for change and the one who is for power? Now, from the 30 years experience of opposition political parties and election, we have realized that nobody on his own could combat the present regime. So he who is for power will say no to coalition. He who is for power, who wants to lead at all costs. But he who is for change will compromise their political ideologies, their political stand, and rally all the other political groups together to form a strong coalition, come together, and save Cameroonians. So, in that light, the Union for Reconstruction, which was created last year in September, which brought together political parties, civil society actors, and well-known personalities, came together and formed a coalition named Union for Reconstruction, whose objective is for a 5 years non-renewable transitional mandate to reconstruct Cameroon, in the sense that we, based on 8 pillars, this is the agenda of the Union for Reconstruction. The Barrister Akere Muna, who is the leader of this union.
Are you answering my question? Are you answering my question?
Yeah.
No, you're not answering my question. I ask whether you think that political leaders today have a plan B.
Political leaders
should they not qualify to stand elections? Remember that Barrister Akere Muna last time was gunning for the presidential opposition, but with time we saw him giving support to Professor Maurice Kamto. So initially there was a plan, but he moved to a second plan. I just want us to establish a fact whether we think that political leaders and voters have a plan B should things go sour.
Yeah, definitely there are people who should be thinking about plan B. But if you fulfill the condition according to the electoral code, you should not be thinking about a plan B. Those who should be thinking about...
Akere Muna fulfilled the conditions. He was already doing campaigns, but at the end of the day, he did not stand elections.
Definitely, this is a different scenario. This is a different scenario. It is a coalition of various political parties with elected representatives. So he is a head of various political parties with elected representative. So definitely the parties with elected representative have endorsed him as their candidate for the election. So definitely we are not into that trap of not being eligible.
You think there is no need for a plan B for you guys? Yeah. Yes. Do you think there is need for a plan B?
Yes. One of my mentors said a plan B is that which you are using, and a plan A is that which you need to use when the B fails, in the sense that your plan A automatically comes to put you where you have to be. This notwithstanding, if we are to look at the plan B within the context that we are talking, it is obvious that every candidate should have such. As a matter of fact, I've always been saying this, that the principal person to decide who becomes an elected official is the person they call the electorate. This is the only person with the legitimate power as given to he or she by Elecam with proof, and that is your name on the list of registered members, and only you can change that. Now, most of the plan B that I see running in the mouth of people, in the lips of people, in the hearts of people, with regards to the candidates that we have, most of the plan B, it's somehow still very skeletal. Another worry is the electorates that do sympathize with some of the candidates who are, for the meantime, appearing to be so controversial vis-a-vis issues that concerns these presidential elections, are not yet full with knowledge to understand the position of their candidate. I've been speaking to some people who think that when you want to take the time out to explain to them some things as per the present electoral law, you're trying to ridicule or make their candidate appear inferior in front of them. But this is not the case. This is not the situation. I think it is only normal. Every politician has a plan B. Usman Sonko had his plan B in this context, and the plan B was Jome, the present president. That was his plan B. When he observed that it was no longer going, a couple of prison sentences, accusations here and there, the only thing he thought of was, okay, I'm going to get this guy, and he's going to be there as the presidential candidate. And that is what happened, and today we saw that in Senegal. That's the situation. The Americans themselves were equally planning. The Republican Party was already planning for a plan B. That is, should Donald Trump not be accepted by the court, especially the federal court and the district court and the state court, where he faced a lot of cases with regards to issues that relates to trying to fix his bad relationship with one lady whom he once had whatever they consider with and things like that. They already had their plan B. And when it got to that moment, they saw that their plan B was already placed where it ought to be. Fortunately for Donald Trump, he had that opportunity, and he was now the presidential candidate, and he went for the president that party. Why am I explaining this to the electorate? I want you to know that as you follow a candidate closely, think about what the law says. In some cases, given that you are the actual boss, I think it is ideal that the electorate may want to also visit persons, meet some people who explain to you what that electoral law means. What does it mean for a candidate not to qualify? What does it mean for a candidate not to actually go in for a presidential election? Because you could follow someone at the end, that person is disqualified. Then you get more confused. So it is important that your plan B start immediately, so that you start by understanding, what do I need to do? Who do I have to meet? Because most of the aspirants, they truly, Mr. Liu, do not tell their sympathizers and militants the truth. Most of these people, when you get into a place where your candidacy is kind of controversial vis-a-vis the law, vis-a-vis the Ministry of Territorial Administration, which is becoming another part today that so many people are afraid of. Like we listened to the last call that the Minister of Territorial Administration made, that there are certain parties with regard to the way they go out, they do not yet qualify and things like that. The electorate, the sympathizers, what they need to do in a time like this is they have to put their candidate first on the ground and go in for a plan B. Meet a neutral person and ask question. What does it mean? Because there is a possibility that your father would defend his position to you. But the reality is that your father is not fit to pay your fee. But if you meet someone to explain to you that, can my father indeed, based on the fact that for 2 months we were unable to pay rent and I'm heading in for an exam, can he truly help me out? Someone who is honest will tell you. So please, a plan B is a need. Yes, I know that there are people who already have their candidate. There are people who have quite unwavering support for their candidate. Like he quoted Barrister Akeremuna, who has quite an unwavering support from so many. But the truth is, we are in a very controversial moment. The list could disqualify your candidate. And I want to say this before I give you a mic. Your candidate could be qualified, but if he violates the campaign law, perhaps if campaign stops at midnight and he takes his campaign to the first hour or maybe the second hour of another day, he or she will be disqualified to go in for that election. Maybe your candidate is presently qualified as per the law. They have the municipal councils, they have been designated by the party, maybe they have secured the 300 signatories as required by law, but maybe they start their campaign before when campaign is officially launched. They will be disqualified. So a lot could disqualify a candidate. So what is most important is that the electorate, please, when you hear me hammer a lot on the electorate, it is because these are the only people who can change the trajectories. Otherwise, nothing will happen. And a presidential aspirant cannot elect his or herself. It is not possible. So please, I repeat, your presidential candidate is a steward. Your presidential candidate is your employee. So what is most important at this moment is ask such a person questions. Put them when you meet in your conventions, when you meet in your personal discussion. Get this knowledge, because you would be shocked. It happened. I told you what happened in Senegal. Ousmane Sonko at the nick of time. Presently, if you look at what is happening in Turkey, where, you know, the mayor whom they were hoping, the mayor of Istanbul, you know, a lot were counting on him to become the next presidential candidate or a veritable person to take over, you know, the country. But he has violated a particular law. So where there is no plan B, I tell you, the electorate will get frustrated. So I think it is imperative that the electorate, on whosoever you have chosen, please start thinking of your plan B. I have listed a couple of things. So
but the issue is, before you even get to educating the electorate, when you say you want to run for elections, like the elections that are coming up as we speak, Sumbele, Kelvin, watching us from Konsamba, I am sure you need to get your cable supplier if you do not have videos. They have to work on their video output. Mabison watching us from Kumba, good evening to you. Lista Montana, good evening to you. And to you, Esther, watching us from Kumba. And all of you, this issue of plan B, do you have the impression that people have plan B? We saw the case of Sonko and the Faye. Sonko discovered that I could not run for presidency. Instead of sacrificing that opportunity, he turned to a plan B, and they got somebody to say through.
The truth is, when you look at the caliber of those who are vying in for the 2025 presidential elections, I think that legally speaking, they are sound. I think that intellectually speaking, they are sound also. And it's just to tell you that they have a plan B, Mr. Liu. Because when you look at it's not for nothing that municipal and legislative elections were pushed to 2026. This was, one would say, an attempt by the party in power to give a red card to some political parties. And now when you look at the conditions under which some political parties, say the case of the CRM, for instance, and I think Batonia Akirimona, to become an independent candidate, because since they don't have any any elected official, it tells you that they have a plan B now. Because when you look at like what you were saying, and Javis came in, when you look at the conditions under which you have to stand as an independent candidate, when they tell you you need 300 signatures from each region, and the caliber of people who should, because if they said that they need 300 from the Northwest, of course,
no, 30.
Yeah, 30. No, yeah, 30. Now, if they said the 30 per region were any kind of individual, of course, I could give mine, Jarvis could give his. But now, when you look at the criteria or the caliber of people they want, it automatically gives some people red card. It's true, you may want to, you have given for Akire Muna, for instance. But now, when they say they need only first-class chiefs, it means there could be a chief, maybe say in the West region, who wants to give in to Maurice Kamto, but is second class or third class. There may be a parliamentarian in that area who wants to give to him. But now he may be with the absolute majority, which is CPDM. It tells you that when I look at the conditions under which people are supposed to vie for presidential elections, Mr. Liu, I bet you most of these political parties have a plan B. Because we saw political parties like in 2018, we take the case of Cabral Libi, he went in under Parti Univer of Professor Mukulu Vondo. It tells you that most of these guys are not ignorant of what awaits them. And now another thing, like he said, is the Minad. The Minad is also playing another part to, I will not say threaten other political parties, but now there are conditions that are coming up every day that are putting some political parties to a very tight corner. But I tell you, Mr. Liuda, in October, most of these parties are reserving surprises for Cameroonians. And now if we were to look at those, the electorate, most Cameroonians already, because when you have someone who already has the age to vote, it means that person has a national identity card. And if someone who has a national identity card is already a mature person, it means the person already has a leader that he is looking forward to voting in 2025 come October. So I think, Mr. Liu, that all these politicians, all of them, none is ignorant of what awaits them, because all of them have a plan B. And
okay, you think that they have a plan B?
They have.
What about the voters?
When you talk about,
do you see a politician in Cameroon who is disqualified and is very ready to endorse another, asking the militants that, okay, since I'm not going, I've been disqualified, let us throw our weight behind this person? That should be his plan B.
Yes, that one now, that is where it may be difficult. Why? Because when
you say there are some.
No, Mr. Liu,
what were you talking about?
Mr. Liu, when I say this, I'm saying this because I give you an example. The MRC, for instance, has a leader. I don't know where Batonye is. They have a leader, because when you look at SDF, they are already ready and they are qualified. When you look at Cabral Libi, he's already ready and qualified.
Cabral Libi has a problem.
They are claiming the party, but he won in court. That's what the party tells you. They won in court. Let's be honest, Mr. Liu. He won his case. It is rather the Minat. It's the same case that happened with the CPP of Madame Edith Kabanwala, where she won, but Minat brought in somebody. We know all those things. So I'm saying that Cabral already won, and the court declared him the owner of the PCRN political party. It is Minat who is saying that, no, we recognize this.
Yes.
And now, and this is what I'm saying, Mr. Liu. I'm saying that most of these politicians, I'm looking at past experiences, most of these guys, let's take the case of the CRM, for instance. The CRM has a plan. When you speak with those who are within the party, it will be difficult for the party not to stand. They will stand. October is not far, you see it. When you look at them, now, you don't expect me to answer that. If they don't stand, they should. Most of these guys know what awaits them. They are not ignorant of the law. They fully master the law.
So you mean every independent candidate that is gunning for that position is going to run?
No.
So
no way.
But why do you center your discussion? We are talking about voters, independent candidates, leaders of political party.
What I'm saying is, we know that there are some people who are going in for independent candidates whom I know only on social media, Facebook and WhatsApp. I'm talking about people who have a following, people who are known. Those are the people I'm looking at. I'm not looking at the 300 and plus. Did you know Barack Obama before he became? You just knew him. We all learned of Barack Obama months to the presidency. I don't know how much you knew of Peter Obi until he took social media and started. Yeah, Mr. Liu, Nigeria and America are not in Cameroon. Cameroon has its realities. Most of these people who have just come up, let's be honest, if the surprise that may surprise me within the 2018 or rather 2025 elections that are coming will come only from the CPDM. That is if the party decides to endorse another candidate. But I do not see some of the names I've listed not being qualified or saying they should throw their weight.
Okay. How important is it to have a plan B, Jarvis?
I think plan B is very necessary here because we're in a very complex situation as far as Cameroon is concerned. And if you listen to Barrister Bala interview with Honorable Joshua, see their discussion, you get to see that even if a legal mind at that nature tells you that the justice system is kind of a bit complex, it means that if it comes to election, it will be more complex. And like I want to answer a rhetorical question posed by my brother Joel as far as the issue is concerned on political parties. The court is an independent arm, but the administrative arm enforces the court decision.
So when the
court I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming. The court is an arm that is supposed to be
stronger than the legislature.
Excuse me. Let me land. Joel. There is what we call nomentive, which is what ought to be. And if you listen to what I started by saying, that I quoted Barrister Bala discussion with Joshua Osi, Honorable Joshua Osi. If Barrister Bala of that magnitude could tell that there's a bit of complexity when it comes to the law in Cameroon, it tells you that if it comes to election, it will be more complex. I'm just giving you the example, and I'm telling you that in context, what you are saying is separation of power. But the truth is, Mr. Leo have asked a question. The question is Plan B. Plan B based on the fact that we must look at the reality. What is on the ground? What is on the ground? Let me be very honest with you. Most of these parties don't have Plan B, and I'll say it with all certainty. Number one unit of analysis to know if a party has Plan B is that the parties will not start by attacking each other on a regular basis on the media. Because if I have Plan B, it means that things I've said against you, I need to be careful for the words I use in public about a particular opponent, because a day may come that I may want to join that force with that person to see that we move forward. Now, if you look at the reality on Cameroon's political landscape, all of them are insulting each other. This one if there is a member of the ruling party and there are 4 opposition parties here, this ruling party will have less attack than the opposition party. That is to tell you that they don't have Plan B. Because if you have Plan B, you will not attack an opposition. Your Plan B will be to say your ideas, to say your position, and not to attack. And we all are example of the situation where you hear Mr. A will tell you that I cannot work with some person who I work with this. Mr. B will tell you, oh, it is easy. People are throwing words against each other. We see them on a regular basis. Now, in terms of research, Mr. Lucas, you are a researcher. In terms of research, that is a unit of analysis to know that this person does not have a Plan B. Because I'm insulting you on TV, on the public, you are insulting me, and in few months to go, we are talking about few months, which means that I have not seen my possibility of me aligning with you. But if I have seen the possibility of me aligning with you, I will not insult you, because you may be my last card. Especially those controversial. And mindful of the fact that we are living in a situation where we are yet to understand remove the full context of ethnicity with political landscape. That is, we have to be very careful, because if I insult party A, and the supporters of party A will automatically hate me. Even if I come in future and tell that party A that let's work together, especially we have 3 months, 6 months to go. It's not easy to build such a strong coalition where you start by removing this division within people's mindset. The second reason why I say they don't have Plan B is the second reason. I am giving you units of analysis that are measurable, quantifiable, tasted, that you can touch them. I am telling you, as a researcher, Prince, one of the units of analysis, Prince, even if they decide to come together, but the harm must have been done. I'm looking at the harm of the fact that if I insult party A, I am telling the supporter of party A to hate me. And if I come to a coalition with party A, there's a good number of persons who will not vote because they have been insulted by a party. Whether you like it or not, these are things that happen. Let's look at reality on the ground. The second thing why I say they don't have Plan B, Mr. Liu, the second reason is because when you look at the parties together, you ask yourself this simple question: why is it that at this level, some persons in a particular parties are not being promoted, are not being projected outside? We know just some few persons. Let me give you even those who have had coalition. A typical example: the coalitions that some have had, they don't have a written document. They don't have something that binds them together, which in the next future means that a member of that coalition can be given a better bid somewhere, and it skips. You stand isolated. You now start looking at the fact, okay, let me go independent. What is the time? And even going independent, I have taken time to look at the coalition, those who are from coalition. If you go to their website, you will not see a tangible document to show that this is our roadmap, this is where we stand. The coalition members, I will say it without any fear of contradiction, that the coalition members don't have that thing that binds them together, legality. All this is like, we have nominated this person, let's go and campaign, But when the time will come, when the drums will start being beaten in the bush, you will see. That's why he's talking about the fact that do they have Plan B? The third reason why I say they don't have Plan B, number 3 reason, are the voters. You don't see them talking about mobilizing effectively to the voters. This is what we hear our political parties saying, even though they are going for election. Oh, the system is rigged. Oh, the voting is not going to be. Oh, there's this. Oh, the electoral law is fake. Oh, this is, I ask a simple question. You are saying the system is rigged. You are saying this. Are you not discouraging the voters from getting to the polls? And yet you stand there, you want to go for election in Cameroon? How much mobilization, how much political education have this party actually given to their constituent? How much political education? If you move to look at their calendar of activities, it's only you vote for me, I'll give road, I'll give this, I'll give that. What the common man need to know, like the first topic, who manages waste in the city? If this political education has been given, that the role of a mayor is this, the role of a MP is this, the role of a president is this, the role of this is this, then you mean to tell the people that they are educated to make a choice, not just the presidential choice. Now, in all fairness, the people themselves, the question now is, do the voters have plan B? As the second part of the question. The voters don't even have plan A, not talk of plan B. Because if you look at most of the voters are calling for a coalition. All the voters are saying, oh, we want a coalition, we want a coalition, we want a coalition, we want a coalition. Who is going to give that coalition? And the parties are saying, no, we cannot go into a coalition, we cannot go into a coalition, we cannot go, a coalition will not change anything, coalition. We have a good sizable voters who call them the silent majority that will only vote if there's a coalition, a strong coalition. And another reason why I say they don't even have plan B, how do we come to a situation where civil society endorses a particular candidate or a particular movement? Because the truth is, a civil society is supposed to be not apolitical, but neutral in terms of their position of a particular party. Their role is political education. Their role is to say that this is what it takes to secure our election. These are the number of polling stations we have in Cameroon. I will say it that if you ask an ordinary Cameroonian, how many polling stations do we have in Cameroon, they will not be able to tell you. Even those who are educated, even though some of the political parties themselves, ask the political stakeholders, that Mr. President aspirant, how many polling units and cells do we have in Cameroon? They'll not tell you. They'll not be able to tell you. They'll say, oh, we have, I will look at it and tell you. But you are going for election. Before you're going in for election, there's what we call a war room. In that war room, you discuss possibility of plan B. Because, like you said, the constitution states that you're not supposed to give your manifesto when campaigns have not started. The manifestos have gone out. We are seeing manifestos outside. That could be a killer at the time where you're depositing your document at the level where Minat will have to say, hey, you know what, this is what the constitution said, but you have published. Electorate will say, this is what you have published, but the law states that this, you're not supposed to give a manifesto. Sometimes when we look at the issue about GWAS, pointing at a lot of issues that there are some loopholes that may come without you seeing. Like also the issue of campaigns. There are some activities that some parties have started doing now. Then Electorate is just looking at you. They have the bodies that are looking at you and the laws. When it comes to the laws, especially when you are violated, which is suit, I don't want to say some particular person, it will be followed in total. And that's what we are saying, that anything can come out. Like Sonko. Sonko was on the right track until a sexual allegation came. Knock him off. You may be thinking that your party has met the criteria laid down. But there's 4 months to go. Anything can happen along the way.
It's equally important if you look at it, for example, the language that is being used, especially by this candidate, especially by persons who are known within these parties. It is important. Like the question goes, do they need a plan B? And it is very obvious that no right-thinking person would walk without plans.
Plan B, C, and Z.
You have to have it. You need to put it in place. If this does not work, this is what we would do. There is an ideal situation in Cameroon, but there is the reality in Cameroon. These are two things that are very, very they are imperative. These are the basis. It is on this base that you now commence with your work. That is, let me take the case of Cabral Libya. I want to x-ray it so that the viewers can understand. This is Cabral Libby. He has won a case in court. And this is the same Cabral Libby. The Ministry of Territorial Administration that is expected to enforce. That is where the documents belonging to his party is submitted. Says, hey, there is a man who has come up. And the man has given his unwavering support to the present president. Now, what does this mean? They have simply painted the reality, and there is the ideal that the court has taken.
Yeah.
And I tell you for sure that the question is, supposing your candidate on that day is house arrest, which there can be a possibility, because there are some people who have gone out and they have said, if this person does not become a presidential candidate, then this or this will happen. So I want us to see, it is through this that we get to see some of these things. So the only person, I call the electorate during election the referee. They determine who plays. And it is unfortunate that the electorate, most of the electorate that we now have are relatively very young people. So they barely sit to know what some of these laws says. And since you follow the crowd, you could follow the wrong crowd. But what is most important is that in aligning with a candidate, for example, like Jarvis said, most of the electorate have been calling for alliance, coalition. But their potential employees, they are having a deaf ear on that. So supposing the electorate decides to move towards where there is an alliance or a coalition, it will entail that that particular presidential aspirant also have to have a plan B. That supposing the electorate I'm hoping on decide otherwise because I did not heed their calls to a political alliance, what will become of me? What will become of me on that day? Because maybe your party has a certain number of executive that could constitute a certain 100 people, but it is not that number that you need at the end. So why the electorate that you have? Because presently I want to put it based on my work on the field, except for the incumbent, every other opposition party that I've spoken to, the sympathizers and some members who are potential electorate, this is what they tell me: you cannot beat a man who has been there for 40 years plus alone. And some have cited the situation in the 90s, 1992, which means that the electorate now also knows. So where the candidate become resilient to their core, it is obvious that they can move. So even the presidential aspirant, it is time also for them to consider. So I think that when we talk about plan B, C to D, it is summarily there to salvage an unprecedented situation should that surprise you, and you should not be embarrassed, because there are people that, I tell you, before the electorate will be convened, there are people I'm afraid that you start receiving their summon from high offices. You start receiving their calls, they will start calling them from high offices because of their utterances. So it is important that you, the electorate, I focus so much on the electorate because I know what the electorate can do in a time like this.
Okay. Yes. How do we get the electorates, I'm talking about the voters, start thinking about a plan A, B, C? What would that entail?
Mr. Leo, talking about the plan A, plan B, and plan C, we are in a, let me put it this way, we are in a war, and nobody goes to the war revealing his secret. Now, every candidate has a plan A, B, and C. But you will not come publicly and review their plans because we know the system we are dealing with.
Yeah, but ask about electorates are not
now, the electorate, they have one focus, which is to go in for a leader who wants change. Because Mr. Jarvis here did mention of opposition party insulting themselves. We have 300 and something political parties in Cameroon, and we have one party in power. It does not mean that the 300 and something political parties are opposition. Opposition are known by their works in the field. Now, the other political parties are subset created by the regime in power to distract the electorate. So the message here to the electorate is they should be able to distinguish between who wants change and who wants power. And he who wants change will stand to unite with others despite their political ideologies, their challenges, their beliefs. They know they need a change for the Cameroonian people. But those who want powers, those who are in to distract Cameroonians, will be citing, I cannot associate with someone who has worked with the regime. I cannot work with old friends of Pobia. I cannot do this. I cannot do that. I cannot do this. Then there are also a class of people who comes in as independent candidates. We know the hostile nature of our political terrain. people who are not known even in their community will come out to project themselves as independent candidates. Politics is not something, it's not a child's play that you just get up one day and maybe it's not an emotional game that you just get up one day and you feel so emotional and say, no, you want, God has revealed to you that you should come and save Cameroon from this impending doom. No, that is not what we are into. So for the electorate, the ball is in their court. They should be able to distinguish between a leader who wants change and the one who wants power. And by so doing, you will know them by their works in the ground. Take, for example, the parliament is made up of about 4 political parties. The recent elections of the speakers of the both houses, it was a landslide victory and there was no complaint that maybe the elections were rigged. We saw that of last year, Honorable Nietzsche, who contested as an opposition party for the house, for the position of the House Speaker. He had 1 vote, and SDF, his party, had other parliamentarians, which indicates that his other colleague from his political party never voted for him. So how do we explain this to Cameroonians that this is a house made of different political parties? The image, the situation presents itself directly to the people. I've once said it that we do not have a House of Assembly because those parliamentarians there are more interested in their session allowances more than the issues plaguing our nation. We have never seen them really debate on laws that will improve the life of a common man. So once we are done,
what did you expect from the opposition party MPs, opposition MPs, for the case of the election for the President of the National Assembly?
They are an opposition, and so many things are going wrong in this country.
You raised the issue of the elections. What did you expect them to do?
We expect to see, we have 180 members. We expect to see even 170 against 10 members who voted for an opposition candidate.
Yeah, but
we never saw that.
We had 12 persons who did not vote, and those were the opposition members. They did not vote.
It is not clear that they did not vote.
It is clear.
It is not clear that they were the oppositions who never voted. So nobody came to complain that the elections were not fair. And so that's the scenario.
Are you not doing exactly what he's saying? Because we have asked a question about electorates. You are attacking by the other opposition. Exactly what he said here.
That it is not an exact situation. Here is to tell you, I'm making mention of the fact that those who present themselves as opposition are not oppositions. Oppositions are known by the works they do in the field.
I remember last year, the same elections you are talking about, they came together. There was a coalition of all the opposition parties who said, this is what we are doing. We are not going for elections. We are not voting for anybody. The person who did not respect that decision is Honorable Nietzsche, who dissociated himself from a decision that was taken by the opposition. But you are not giving the right information. You're rather exposing, attacking another opposition.
It is not an attack. An opposition, as I earlier mentioned, are known by the works in the ground. So at this extent where we are driving towards a turning point in our history, so many distractors are coming up. So I am just making the point here clear that Cameroonians should be able to identify distractors from real opposition.
Who are distractors?
Oppositions,
according to you?
Distractors are those who are coming up for themselves.
How do you weigh it?
We have it is simple to analyze and know who are coming for themselves. Those who refuse coalition, they are distractors, because we know we should not pretend. Nobody will come out today and be so popular, be so qualified in such a way that he would defeat this regime on his own.
Okay.
That is the reality on ground.
What should be talking about plan A, B, C of a voter? What should the voter be looking at as plan A, plan B, plan C? Because the essence here is to educate. Maybe many persons never knew as an electorate that there is need for you to start also preparing yourself for a plan A, plan B, plan C, even if the presidents themselves have failed to educate on that?
The first plan, to me, Mr. Liu, as an electorate, your first plan A should be getting registered. Getting registered at the Elecam office. Because you cannot vote in Cameroon when you don't have an elections card. So the first lesson to all Cameroonians is the fact that they need a voter's card. The second thing I want to say, Mr. Liu, is whether we want it or not, there will always be opposition political parties, which means come October, the CPDM will not stand alone. Of course, there are going to be other people. And now the people who are supposed to vote is, they should rather look at the program. What are you coming with? What is it you're bringing? Because the regime in place has clocked 42. The party in power has clocked 40. It tells you that it's already a very mature party, and the party has really been there for a very long time. 42 years is not 42 days, neither is it 42 months. So those who are out there should be able to understand that come October, they are going to go out and cast their votes for either the incumbent, who is President Paul Biya, or cast their votes for any opposition leader that they choose. Another third thing that they may also want to know is the fact that it's not all about voting. It's also ensuring that the right person you casted your vote for did not go to another person. I'm talking about rigging here. Now, I'm not calling on Cameroonians to move to the streets like what we saw, I think, after the presidential elections with most militants of the CRM political party, where some are seen gnashing their teeth in prisons today, all over in major parts of the country. I'm rather saying that there's a way you protect your vote. Protecting your vote here is making sure that you casted your vote, say, for this party, the SDF, the PCRN, or say the CPDM, and it is protected. Another thing is, Mr. Liu, I've been on ground, rather, let me not use we, so I don't bring you in. I've been on ground where I see what happens during elections at polling stations, where there is a big man of an area who is standing by at the polling station with an envelope. He gives you that, okay, go in and cast, and at times they even tell you, bring the other ballot papers of the party that you did not vote for and come and show proof that you voted for the party I gave you something for. This year, Mr. Liu, it's a year that Cameroon, even if I've told people, even where I've sat with few people who have asked me, Prince, how do you see 2025? Mr. Liu, whether the incumbent wins or he doesn't win, Cameroon that has been for 42 years will not be the same. Lots of things will change. Because when you look at the few developments that have been coming up in different areas, I give you the case of the Northwest, for instance. When you look at areas like Kum Leonard, for the past 42 years that the regime has been in place, it's an example, Mr. Lebuka, I'm talking about, it's like some kind of consciousness in 2025.
You will land with Messager?
Of course, it's a land of milk and honey. There have been dust all over there. But now these people have a tar road. It takes that for 42 years. I don't know why the regime in place did not understand whether they needed tar roads. But this year, it's coming. And other areas, those developments are beginning to come there. And that's why I'm saying, Mr. Liu, that whether the incumbent wins, whether it's an opposition leader who wins, there will be changes in Cameroon. Okay. Lots of evolution will come up in Cameroon.
Okay. What is your perspective of... Are you the one who's supposed to talk? Okay. Your perspective of preparedness by voters as far as having different plans are concerned?
I think voters, if you see from all the 10 regions of Cameroon, in every 10 Cameroonians, 9 will tell you that they want change. But in terms of how ready they are, just 2 are ready for the change that they need. And why do I say so? I say so because if you carry out a poll now, like you asked for the issue of that, do they even have plan B? That was the first question, the other question you asked. It tells you that they are not really ready to pay the price for change by registering to vote. Because in every 10 Cameroonians, 8 will tell you they want change. But of every 10, 8 who tells you that they want change, just 1 person has a voter's card, or 2 may have a voter's card, and only 1 person may have voted in any recent election. And the only thing they will tell you that, oh, we voted in 1992, nothing changed. Oh, we voted in 1992, nothing changed. Now, you have to go further of a 10 Cameroonian or 10 Cameroonians, 8 will tell you also that they want a coalition. Because they believe that, okay, if we go by coalition, we want change. Now, in terms of how ready they are passively ready. Only few can pay the price for change. I'll tell you this, those watching us, if you look at most of the people who keep telling you that our election cannot change, election cannot change, ask them one simple question: do you have a voter's card? The answer is 2-letter word, N or no. You ask them, when last did you vote in any election? Oh, we voted, we voted in 1992. We voted in 1992, and they keep calling 1992. Why they are calling 1992 is because the population was massive. And apart of 1992, there is no election again that we can call because we have not turned out en masse. Now, why don't they think that if we turn out en masse, something may happen and something can happen? My issue is that Cameroonians themselves are happy with the current state of affairs. In fact, the government is doing a very good job. Because if the government was not doing a very good job, you'd have had Cameroonians queuing to register massively to vote. The fact of the matter where you see Cameroonians lackadaisically not wanting to vote, it tells you that the government is doing a good job. They have electricity every time, they have good road, they have everything. Because in terms of readiness, they are just mildly ready. Oh, we want change, we want change, we want change. But are you the change you want? No. They are not ready. And the political parties themselves are making things good for them because opposition parties are making things good for them. They are making things good for them. How? You will hear a political party, opposition party who say, no, there are some opposition parties that are distraction. There are some opposition parties that are not opposition. How do you weigh an opposition party? What is the unit of analysis you weigh an opposition party? And so you start discrediting some people, some followers of some particular party, and you make these followers to believe that, this thing, all of them are the same. But the day the opposition parties shall all be saying that all of us are opposition, there is no this opposition, there is no that opposition, it changes the mentality of the voters. The voters are kind of suffering from a kind of a confused message from the hardcore opposition. And I'll tell you that the duty of readiness of the voters, they almost lie on the hands of people like NG, who are the civil society organization, because they are the people responsible to get the voters to be ready and to be prepared and to know what it takes. But sadly enough, if you're looking at the political landscape of Cameroon, the civil society in Cameroon, most of them have taken their stand already. And their stand that they have taken is not a stand of educating voters. I say most. I know Mr. Lucas may say no, I say most. And I will say it with all certainty. We have seen documents of others, and we have seen it clear endorsing some candidates. Because the role of this civil society is to get these people ready. Because the political parties are parties that deals with politics. But civil society don't deal with politics in terms of taking a side. They are there to tell you that, okay, this is what is supposed to be done by this is what's supposed to be done by this. So to get the opposition, the voters ready, I will tell you that the voters have this quagmire of telling you that, oh, we vote not to change because the civil society are not doing their job effectively. I say effectively, I'm not saying they are not doing their job. Before they misquote me, they are not doing it effectively. In fact,
I want us to focus on these voters. It is true. He said that every voter is supposed to have a champion. As we speak, this person says, okay, my best candidate is A. The other one says, my best candidate is B. The best says, can they also be taught that we should have a list of preference, that should this one not qualify, this is where I'm learning. Should this one not qualify, this is where I'm learning. That is, I score them. List A, second, third.
Yeah, of course. Most of the voters, they have that already in mind. Like I said,
because the tendency, yeah, like if somebody says I'm not going for election, the tendency is all the voters will say we are not going. Yes. That is when the leader says, why can't you look beyond and say, though you think like this, This is why I should go.
Yeah, you know, I'll borrow the case of 2018 when when Batoni Akeremuna, when he said, okay, I'm not going, let my sympathizers and the electorate ready to cast their ballot for me go to Maurice Kamto. I think it happened like that. Now, if you follow, you know, if you get to speak to the people, you understand that where they talk about political alliance or coalition, you always see they'll list about 5 to maximum 10, and 5 is about 80% of their conversation. It is because these are the names that are being, you know, that are running on the media. You know, as the media keep talking about them, they hear about them, they see them both on the social media and the mainstream media and the rest. So the electorate already, from my experience, have some people in their minds. And that is why you would hear till this moment, up till this moment, there are certain faces they are expecting to add to some of the political alliances that have been put in place. That is why you still hear them keep talking. If you go by the coalition that approved the Batoni as the presidential candidate, who will definitely win, you realize that these people, you know, they saw him. But there are people who are saying that no, that coalition is relatively still too small. We want a bigger coalition, which means there are still some faces. Jarvis, you know, he made some very wonderful statements with regards to the role of the civil society. Please, I want to take out this time so I could help on this. The civil society is misconstrued whenever it is said that the civil society endorses. Now, this is what happens. Sometimes when it is reported, the way it is reported, it is read based on that, the way the people take it, it's based on the way it was reported. For example, I'll go by what the coalition that the Batoni was approved. It is said that some members of the civil society, it was not read that civil society B has said this man should be. It is said that some members of the civil society, which means that it is not the civil society in its entirety that says this. And the civil society actually is doing her job. They are doing their job with regards to the education. Not all civil society have the mandate to talk about democracy or presidential elections. Not all civil society. There are civil societies that deals solely with issues that concern the environment. And that is why if you look at the document that is given to civil society, it is boldly written, they are apolitical, they are not religious. But the members, as per their political right, have that to enjoy, whether to belong to whichever party they want. So if you see a member of a particular civil society that you know, perhaps prominent, who is now a member of a particular political party, don't misconstrue that. Don't look at that person to mean that it is that particular civil society. So this is where the issue is. So the electorate already have some people that they are looking up to. Another thing I have also read is why there should be a plan B, C to D. We have the restive regions, the 2 English-speaking regions and the far north, where polling stations within this particular area will not be conventional. So the plan B from the party should be, how do we manage the sympathizers and the electorate within that particular area? Where do we migrate them to? How do we prepare their mind? Because they need mental fortitude to understand that no matter when the guns will start raging, this is what they can do. This is what they should do, because on that day, whether you like it or not, there will be people within the restive regions that will not be able to step out, but there will be others who will be able to step out. So you need to educate their mind as per your plan B. how you need to go about it. So the electorate needs a lot of education, which some of us, I'll put it, if you look at what Rehabet does, basically, Rehabet does a lot with regards to this political education, with regards to how you need to conduct, what you need to do. So I think the electorate already has some faces.
We are getting out of. It is true. The intention is to run for presidential elections. That is the plan A. What if you do not gather enough resources, human and financial, to run for these elections? What do you do? Because you may have received promises. It requires so much money. It doesn't suffice that you raise 30 million to deposit, but you need at least billions to be able to do campaigns across Cameroon. What if you have the 30 million too, and you think that it will be a waste? Should you not endorse some other person?
We saw, we already saw the aspect of finances within the Social Democratic Front, which is an example where the party said, for you to qualify,
we want to be sure that at least,
you should come up with at least a 50 million, which means at least you should have something. And we've also seen with other political parties like the CRM that came up with a plan calling on party militants and Cameroonians of goodwill to contribute and support the party come for the presidential elections. This was the same case with Cabral Libil in 2018, where he called on Cameroonians to support. Now, Mr. Leo, the financial aspect which you have brought is a very important point, because when I look at most of these opposition, these guys who want to run, now, do you have what it takes? Because you're eyeing the highest job in the nation, you're eyeing the highest post in a nation, you want to control 30 and plus million of Cameroonians, and you are unable to have the resources that it takes. To me, it's some kind of, I don't want to say comedy, to me it's some kind of unseriousness. Because you should first of all, it's true. It's not for nothing that it takes a process before you get married to a woman. If not, everybody would have married. Because you need resources to put together. I think that if you cannot afford the basic caution, we know people who go in for these elections as a business. Because one thing that happens is, if you are linked to a bank, all you need to do is go borrow some resources with the idea that if they say, okay, you need 15 million, you pay it, and now during campaigns, the government gives you 12 million. So you have taken, say, a month to make profit for 5 million francs CFA. That's so much money. So I think that any person who wants to stand for these elections as president should be, first of all, be viable financially. One of the reasons that the opposition has maybe not been succeeding in the years back is because, Mr. Liu, some political parties do not even have the resources to send their militants to go and represent those political parties at polling stations. Cameroon has 360 subdivisions, and the 360 subdivisions are not limited only to Duala that has only 6 subdivisions. So I think that the political parties should have resources, enough resources. And like you put it, if a political party thinks that it is not financially strong enough, I see nothing wrong in just going to align with another political party and telling your militants, I want all of you to cast your vote for this party. We have seen it during elections. The USDP, for instance, of Prince Ekoso in Tico supported Honorable Frix Etoke during the legislative elections. They said, okay, we are sending you. I think that it is time other political parties learned that it is not all about me. If you want change, it's not all about it must be Prince. If Mr. Liu is going for an election, and I think that I don't have the charisma, I don't have the following, I don't have the financial stability for it, all I need to do is my 2 or 3 friends are with me and say, Bo, let's go and give to Mr. Kum Leonard. So I think that that's what the opposition political parties should be thinking.
As we speak, we're talking about plan A, plan B, plan C. Elections are holding this year. If by now you do not have at least if you needed 5 billion, if by now you don't have 1 billion, sincerely, should you still be thinking that okay, everything is going to come from somewhere? Elections, anyway.
One of the major problems African leadership is facing is financing elections, and in some countries, billionaires are being pushed into leadership to finance election, and at the end they have poor results in leadership because those people were not leadership oriented. They came in with their money, like in the case of Nigeria. They brought in a businessman who had his money. He came in with his money. He has no leadership skills to lead the people. The country have been brought down into chaos. So in a political setting, the militants should be able to contribute for the growth of their parties. Because in some cases, when we start bringing in sponsors, we bring in sponsors with conditions that in case we win, you'll be compensated with this, you'll be compensated with this, and at the end of the day, people don't get what they want. So one of the major challenges Africa is facing in leadership is bringing rich men into politics, which they are not good leaders. So we must reshape our politics in another dimension. Talking about the financial aspect also, to send representatives to be represented all over the country. It is simple. If you are a politician and you see that your capacity does not permit you to cover the whole territory, it is simple. You go in for a coalition, as my brother earlier said, because it will save you a lot. Like a party well planted, you will not need to pay die-hearted militants to go and represent you in a polling station. It just works naturally. It is just coordinated. But had it been you are an independent candidate and you have to spend a lot of money to pay people to go and supervise, to go and watch over your vote so that they should not be rigged. So in a nutshell, smaller political parties and bigger political parties should come together if they truly, and have a political alliance, if they truly want change. Thank you.
Okay, they want change, they need to get into an alliance. But is it, if you were to run for elections in 2025 October, and by now you are still thinking on where to get the money, is it possible for the money to come?
No, it's already, it's part of what you may want to call a failed project, because we are anticipating 40,000 polling stations. We already have 25,000, and as we increase in registration, that is how they'll further split because you will not need more than 500 people in a polling station. So this will mean that once you have about 8 million people, you simply divide it by 500, it will give us 40,000 as opposed to the 25,000 that we had. So it will entail that you garner a lot of finance. But if you do not, alliance is cool. For the presidential elections, you put up the alliance. There's a particular party there. If I take it up, you within that particular area, you may have 2 ministers, 3 ministers. You move to the other side. If I take it up, you may have maybe Minister of Justice or Minister of that. That is how it is done. It is not only in Cameroon that this is done. I want to let the people know that in the United States, we are hearing about 2 major parties, but there are other parties. There's a Green Party. There are other parties in the U.S. These are district parties. You go to certain districts.
The son of the late President Kennedy.
Yes.
Kennedy. Who was running.
Yes.
He switched to a plan B.
Great. Great. So there are district parties. There are parties that are meant for a district. Like Jarvis earlier said, 250 ethnic groups. There are people who vote with the ethnic lines. And I tell you the truth, it is also their right.
Take it away from them, eh?
No, it's their right. It is their right. So what you need to do is identify the person that will help you in that area. So you take it after, or what do you want? You want to be in control. So it will be imperative that you don't get so self-centered.
Mr. Kum, briefly, there's something that I want to raise. I just want us to understand, as political parties who are watching us now, to understand that the race for this election is supposed to have been planned last year. This year, there is the execution phase. But if you are coming to plan this year, you have failed. And planning an election doesn't only end in Cameroon. They are what we call strategic partners of Cameroon. You have to meet them. discuss what convention do you have with Cameroon. How, if I take power, if I win, how can we work together?
All
you
this culminates.
All this. That's why you see Peter Obi, before he went for election in Nigeria, he was going nation by nation, meeting diplomat by diplomat. Whether we like it or not, Cameroon have signed several conventions and several cities with other nations. You have to meet with these people, ask what they actually have signed with Cameroon before you come now and say you are campaigning. But most of these our parties have not done so. Just a few. And that tells you that the rate of preparedness, power is not only campaign on Cameroon ground. Because before you come and form your policy, you must ensure that the conventions you have signed, the bilateral relationship you have signed, you must understand them. And the state cannot give you full understanding to this. You must go to these nations, identify them, go to the embassies to these nations, visit them. That's why you see all serious candidates in any nation, when they are going for election, they move around all the nations that they have signed conventions.
Because most of the conventions were not put up by your mind.
They were not put up.
You were only called to take part.
Yes. So you go and ask, what convention do you have with Cameroon? How is it of interest? You understand. So when you come to the home front, you know how you formulate your policy that can best protect the interests of the people. All of them have been telling us we will do this, we will do this. They have not told us the why. None of the political parties have not told us how they are going to do it. They have been making us understand that this is what we are going to do. How feasible, tangible. The how is what we need. They tell us, come on, we are Electorate next year. How? It's not going to be Electorate within a short period of time.
We are out of time. We have to end at this juncture. Prince Joel, thank you for coming.
It's always a pleasure being on board, Mr. Liu. Very interesting topics you had today, touching the lives of Cameroonians. And of course, we are always open to answer you when you need us. I want to send special greetings to all those who watch the program, most particularly to the peace-loving people of Mr. Subdivision.
Thank you for coming, Innocent.
Thank you, sir. It's always a pleasure having me here to share my thoughts with Cameroonians. Greetings to my Santa people.
I hope you greet the people of
Well, I want to greet thank you very much, the peace-loving people of Wave Village and Imonia, and the Bishop of Boya Diocese, His Lordship Michael Bibi, that God should continue to guide and protect him as he pastor over the sheep of Boya Diocese.
Thank you for coming, G.
It's a pleasure. It's an appeal. We have seen the garbage, please. I want to be very particular. Fellow my 16 people, please, let us manage it. We still live in that area where we can burn. We could use as manure. Let us use that. And I want to end by saying that at this moment, it is your political right to identify a candidate. For now, keep it to yourself because it's a need. It is your cut. It is the game changer.
Okay. We want to thank Eli and Desmond for production, and to all of you for watching. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.